Good evening. My name is Joe Bandel and I am the last Rosicrucian. Tonight we're going to talk about Oak Advantage 23 and Paranormal Reality. Now, this is a difficult topic and I'm trying something I've never tried before. I would like you to bear with me. We'll see how it goes. I believe that every paranormal activity that's legit has a basis, a solid scientific basis. And I believe that cutting edge science is teaching us about these things. And I believe that people who deny paranormal experiences are really where they claim that paranormal experiences are made up, that it's imagination gone wild or whatever. They are the ones that are limiting their perceptions. Now, the I base my paradigm on several things. One of them is Dewey Larson's reciprocal systems theory, which basically states that there's the world we live in, or the physical world, what we call the physical world, which is actually, he called it space time. And then the reciprocal of that, which was three dimensions of time, that he called time space. And these two universes, both three dimensional in their own way, were united together. And they were united together at the speed of light. And that they were so connected with each other that they couldn't really be separated. Now, the beauty of Dewey Larson's reciprocal systems theory is that it lends itself to metaphysical research, it lends itself to occult philosophies, it lends itself to multidisciplinary topics, and it's scientific at the same time. Basically, his idea was that everything was motion, vibratory motion. It was that everything could be broken down into vibratory motion, and it started with the photon being light that burst out in all directions, and it reached a limit, and then it came back in, collapsed in on itself, and went back to that 0 point or that starting point, but it came back as electricity. And modern science talks about this phenomenon of how a photon, sometimes it acts like a particle and sometimes it acts like a wave. And what I'm getting at is that's what we are. That's what awareness is. Sometimes our awareness is like a particle. We are aware of being our physical body, and sometimes our awareness expands outward into the environment, into the universe. And then it comes back and it brings that information back to us, so that we're living basically in both worlds at the same time in a vibratory manner. Now, the horned torus is a concept, it's a construct that attempts to describe how something can exist like a particle and exist like a wave at the same time, if you think of it that way. So what I'm going to show is a image of a horned torus that that can be representative of awareness and how awareness just cycles back and forth. It cycles in a way, and there's going to be two images of different styles of the horned torus. And modern cutting edge science is recognizing that just about everything follows this pattern of the horned torus. That means every atom. It means the physical body. It means the earth with its magnetosphere or the sun. And it means the galaxy. In other words, cycles within cycles of these horned toruses. So I want you to be kind of thinking about these things as you view these images. Now, this first image represents a single point or point of awareness, sensory input. You could say that this image represents a single atom, a single electron, or an atom with a single electron, proton. It can represent the element hydrogen, and that it exists in this circular motion, which at the North Pole it kind of spreads outward and it goes around. It has an outer limit, and then it comes back in, and it focuses more on the inside. That can be a type of awareness. And if you think of that image as representing hydrogen, start adding electron rings. Like add another electron or another image to this first one, and you would have two of them going at the same time. And then start adding another ring around that one. And this ring has 8 cycling points of awareness. And then add another one that adds another 8. And each one of these rings or spheres or layers represents an astral body, represents a form of consciousness and awareness and intelligence that has specific sensory inputs going into it. And you kind of get an idea of the paranormal, how the paranormal or sensory awareness can exist at each level. It can exist at an archetypal level of black and white with just 2 as the innermost electron ring, or mental energy, abstract mental energy, philosophical, creative, with 8 sensory inputs. We think of the world as having 5 senses, sensory inputs. Let's give it 8. And goes on to the emotional ones, which would be outermost. It had actually 18. Upper emotional, lower emotional. And you're going to see just the complexity of what we are, and how what we term the soul could be a single astral body or non-physical body, but it's actually got a physicality that's created out of the complete electron ring, out of the Nobel gas. again, what I'm trying to say is there's a way of integrating the paranormal and understanding the paranormal in a scientific manner. We're going to switch over to the next image, which is a simple donut shape. But if you look at that donut shape, again, this is a horn torus shape. But you'll notice that these lines come out from the North Pole and they expand outward. They expand. It's the opposite of concentrating, and it's turning at the same time. It's creating a expanding vortex. Okay, that's considered the cone of power, but in a repelling manner. The North Pole manner is, whereas the South Pole, if you look at the South Pole, you have everything's going inward and it's focusing inward, and it's the cone of power in a manifesting way. And one of these, and if you take the equator actually is the balance point where the top and the bottom meet, where the expanding world, the expanding energies come around, and the bottom southern hemisphere of the circle is where they start to pull together and focus as a physical manifestation. Now you can take this image and you can conceive of the northern hemisphere where everything's kind of going outward. You can conceive of that perhaps as the time-space universe, and the southern hemisphere where everything's working toward a focus of manifestation as the space-time or physical universe, and they're moving together, and that, or the magical realm, if you want to call it that, whatever, but physical reality, to manifest as physical reality is that plane that exists at the equator. And what's above is kind of an astral type, non-physical, you would call it, and what's below, the same way. These are things, but it's all representative of this horn torus that we find in the atom, we find in molecules, we find in the cell, the living cells, cellular structure. We find in the human aura, or that of any animals. We find it in the earth itself, or the sun. And we find it in the galaxy. And this comes complete with polarity reversals, where it spins one way and then it's going to exchange polarity and spin back the other way, because there's another balance there. So these images represent cutting edge science, but we can apply the unseen, we can apply the astral planes, we can apply the paranormal to this image if we want. And now the final image is a fractal image dealing with chaos theory. If you think about it, it's cycles within cycles within cycles, and life exists in a way in which each one of us is human and we can be recognizable as human, but each one of us is unique and different from everybody else. That's what this last image represents, is that chaos theory element of where we're all the same, but we're all different. And we're all in a different spot. And we all take a different role, even though we're related, obviously related to each other. So this is a perfect symbol of that ability of being unique but being similar at the same time. As opposed to what we think of as science and technology, the computer, the digitization of everything, in which everybody has to follow the same, everybody has to be a clone of each other. This image shows that nobody's an exact copy. We're not clones of each other. Our thoughts cannot be clones of each other. We all have our unique perspective and our unique experience, but it all flows together. And what I've tried to do with these three images is share the reality of these concepts, because words can't really do them justice. What you end up doing, you have to intuit what I'm trying to say. When you intuit what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to bring across the idea and the concept that cutting edge science, modern cutting edge science, is exploring these areas in which time space and space time, chaos theory, cycles within cycles, how this all works. And it's exciting because it's reflective of, it's having the ability to explain what we have considered paranormal experience. That's the whole purpose that I'm trying to do with this video. I hope I've been able to bring that point across a little bit, that there's a mechanical process at work in these things, and that the person who does not believe in the paranormal is limiting they're limiting themselves, and they're trying to fit things into a box that's too small, because we are already creating, scientifically, we're already creating a box that's much larger than what these skeptics operate in. And as we learn more about our universe, as we learn more about reality, about life itself, it's going to continue expanding. Our paradigm, our frame of reference is going to continue expanding. It's not going to get smaller. And it's going to include the astral realms. It's going to include astral bodies or mental bodies, emotional bodies, the emotional awareness, physical awareness, all of these things, because they fit. That's all that I have for this video. I hope you'll enjoy it. We'll see you next time.